The other day, I was sitting at my desk trying to finish up an assignment. Suddenly, my phone buzzed with a text message. Then my roommate stopped by to ask a question. Without thinking, I tried to get all three done at once. However, I noticed that they took me longer to complete, and I made mistakes along the way. I used to call myself a multitasking genius until my stress level started going up. And then I realized I knew absolutely nothing about it. Lots of academic researchers even call it a myth. Interestingly, a 2005 study found that the average worker's IQ drops 10 points when multitasking, which is more than double the 4-point drop experienced by someone that smokes marijuana. So I decided to finally look into this knowledge gap, to learn if the brain actually has the ability to multitask effectively, and to discover a system that is beneficial to my brain. You might also be wondering that how did the name multitasking even come about? But the term multitasking only made an appearance in the 1960s. Specifically, it was first published in an IBM paper in 1965, when the word multitasking was used to describe the abilities of the IBM System 360. Multitasking is about multiple computer tasks, alternatively sharing one resource, that's the CPU. But with time, the concept was altered to mean multiple tasks being done simultaneously by one resource, which is the person. When computers actually multitask, they switch back and forth between tasks until they are completed. Now, this task switching is good for computers, but not for human beings. So what really is multitasking? Breaking down multitasking into its core ingredients, we're talking about just one thing: attention. The art of paying attention, the ability to shift our attention, and generally to exercise judgment about what objects are worthy of our attention. We can do two things at once, like walking and talking, or chewing gum and reading a book. But what we can't do is focus our attention on two things at once. If by some form of magic, I'm convinced to walk on this tightrope, I won't talk while doing it. If not, I will definitely make mistakes. Steve Uzel captured this concept clearly in his quote when he said, "Multitasking is merely the opportunity to screw up more than one thing at a time." So let's talk about juggling, because as humans, we always want to juggle many things. With an average of 4,000 thoughts, which the average person has every day, it's only natural to want to multitask. 4,000 thoughts per day is about 167 per hour, which is about 3 thoughts per minute. So every 20 seconds, we get a new thought prompting us to change direction of our focus. So you might look at professional jugglers and say they are juggling multiple balls at once. But hold on, look again. Are you seeing what's really happening? The balls are being independently caught and thrown in rapid successions. The focus is on one ball. Catch and toss. Catch and toss. By the way, this research paper on multitasking done by Thomas Busa and Naomi Peter shows that women don't have better multitasking skills than men, after they performed the experiment on 112 men and 106 women. So according to scientific research, two things always happen when you multitask. First, goal shifting. This is usually instantaneous, and it can be summed up as "I want to do this now" instead of that. Second, rule activation, which can be summed up as "I'm turning off the rules for that, and I'm turning on the rules for this." Switching between two simple tasks is quick and easy. For instance, you're watching TV and then you switch to folding clothes. But if I'm working on a machine learning assignment and a friend calls to discuss a serious career problem, the complexity of both tasks makes it impossible to easily jump back and forth. Dave Crenshaw recommended an easy exercise in his book, The Myth of Multitasking, to convince anyone that multitasking wastes time and encourages mistakes. It's fun and simple. For this exercise, you need a paper, an instruction sheet, please forgive my handwriting, and also a stopwatch. There will be 2 steps. So for the first step, we write the phrase "multitasking is worse than a lie" on the first row. Then we switch to the second row and write all the numbers from 1 to 32. Then we also document the time it takes to complete it. For the second step, we write the phrase "multitasking is worse than a lie," but for every letter we write, we switch to the next row and write the corresponding number. So for example, M, then 1, U, and then 2, and so on. You get the point. Until both rows are complete. Then we record the time again underneath. Now we compare the time it takes to complete both steps. The question said typically a person will take twice as long to complete this exercise on the second step than the first step. And you can see mine was not too far from that. So apart from studies and work, multitasking also has adverse effects on our relationships. Author Dave Crenshaw wrote, "The people we live with and work with on a daily basis deserve our full attention. When we give people segmented attention, piecemeal time, switching back and forth, the switching cost is higher than just the time involved. We end up damaging relationships." So if you should stop multitasking because we have to get a lot of work done, then what should we do instead? The solution is called backtasking. It's a concept that you probably apply already, but you don't know it as this name of backtasking. So backtasking is short for background tasking. So this is when you're doing multiple things at once, but only one of them requires your attention. Every other thing is happening in the background. Some examples are watching TV and eating dinner, or working out while listening to music. This is something I was already doing even before I read the book, but since I started consciously backtasking while actively reducing the times I multitask, I noticed that my productivity increased, the quality of my work also increased significantly, then my stress levels reduced, which is something I was really happy about because at some point in my life I was always seasonally having stress-induced ulcers. Then fourth, I noticed that my time management also improved, and finally I also noticed, surprisingly, that my creativity improved. I used to think I wasn't really so much of a creative guy, but then creativity juices actually flow when you focus your attention for a long time on one thing. For further studies on the subject, you can check out this book, The One Thing, and also the book referenced earlier, The Myth of Multitasking. I'll leave you with this quote from a piece of advice given in the 1740s from Lord Chesterfield to his son. He said, "There is time enough for everything in the course of the day if you do but one thing at once. But there is not enough time in the year if you do two things at a time." Alright, so that's all, my friends. Thank you so much for watching. If this video has provided value to you, please hit the like button below. It means a lot to me, and it also helps the channel to find favor in the eyes of the algorithm. That's all for now. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.